I'd like to call the meeting to order. And as is our custom, please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lisa, would you please read the opening statement and call the roll?
Okay. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with the Senator Barnum and Bear Open Public Meetings Act, the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority sent its annual meeting schedule for August 2017 and July 2018, setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting to the Secretary of State's office in Trenton, New Jersey, and the Office of Clerk of Atlantic City. The notice was published in the Press of Atlantic City, the Camden Courier Post, the New York Star Ledger on August 1st and August 2nd, 2017. Members of the press will be permitted to take photographs of today's meeting, providing that it is done in a manner which is not distracting to the authority nor interferes with the public's right to observe the meeting. Any member of the public who wishes to address the authority regarding items to be presented to the board today will be given the opportunity to do so. Comments regarding any issues that do not appear in today's agenda will be taken during the public comment portion at the end of the meeting. We ask that members of the public who address the board stand and state their name and address for the record each time they speak on an issue. It is also requested that comments be limited to 3 minutes per issue. Deputy Lorenzo.
Present.
Ed Gein.
Here.
Margie Antonio.
Here.
Mayor Don Guardia.
Here.
Michael Hanley.
Here.
Gary Hill.
Here.
Eric Kyle.
Here.
Matt Levinson.
Here.
William Molly.
Here.
Kevin Norton. Dave Rebuck for the State Attorney General. Robert Kennedy for the DCA Commissioner.
Here.
Bob Shaughnessy for the State Treasurer.
Here.
Frank Spencer. Richard Wilson.
Present.
Chairman Robert Mulcahy.
Here.
Okay.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is ratification of the minutes of the August 15th public meeting. I assume you've all read it. Any changes or corrections? Hearing none, will someone move to ratify the minutes?
Move. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. Next, we'll hear from the Executive Director's report, or from the Executive Director on his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few things this afternoon. A couple big events since our last meeting. We had the Miss America Parade and competition last weekend, the 9th and 10th. City really looked great thanks to Rick Santoro and the CID crew. They put in a ton of hours, a ton of work getting the tourism district ready. It looked amazing. Also, the city presented pretty well, I thought, on the broadcast, due in large part to the work of Larry Sieg, our Director of Marketing Communications, and Karen Martin, who were instrumental in identifying the locations and shots for the opening segment showcasing the city. This past weekend, the city hosted the Ironman 70.3. This is a good story for us. Some of the board members may recall we actually provided funding to get this promoter and race series, I guess, going. It's since grown into an extremely successful event on its own. Didn't require any CRDA funding this year, and initial estimates of about 10,000 attendees, many of whom actually spend multiple nights in town. They're coming from out of the region. Convention Center update, we had 5 events last week alone with approximately 7,700 attendees. So great work by Dean, Spectra, and MEAC there. Another big convention there this week for the National Association of Elevator Contractors, which is 6,000 attendees, estimated attendance for that. And last but certainly not least, we published our proposed land use regulations in the New Jersey Register. It's in the September 18th Register. We are now in a 60-day comment period, which expires November 17th. And we will also be holding 2 public hearings on that, which I believe we've advertised. It's October 4th at 10 a.m. and October 10th at 6 p.m., seeking additional public comment. So a lot going on, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
2 comments. One, the regulations are a big deal. We said that when we announced it and approved them, subject to the hearings and so on. And I can't emphasize, it's taken a long time to get here. They're complex, but we're being very open about it. We're holding public hearings, and I think it's great work by staff. The other item I might say is, I would say that the mayor and I felt a little shunned at the reception for Miss America since none of the other members of the board showed up. I mean, Mayor, what do you think? We were a little cold out there in the loggia, wasn't it? Although we did have a lot of people there. And I would say Mr. Cheatham showed up with his wife. He was in a tuxedo. He looked very dapper. And I thank you, that Bill, for being part of it. In any event. And it was a good show. It was a good show. And we have the numbers and so on it. Those are the two things I would add to what Chris has just said. We have 3 items on the agenda for today. The first is the Sheraton Headquarters Hotel. It's a consent to a loan modification. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution.
Oriana, I'm sorry, I
It's
didn't
okay.
turn around and look and see, wow.
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority consenting to certain modifications to the terms and conditions of the Senior First Mortgage of Headquarters Hotel Associations LP and furtherance of the Convention Center Headquarters Hotel project.
Is there anybody that needs to recuse themselves on this issue? Okay. Chris, do you want to describe this as action which was taken by committee and set up here?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is consent to a loan modification. Under the terms of our junior loan to Sheraton, our consent is required to any material change in terms and conditions of the senior debt. And the hotel is seeking to modify its senior loan with AIG. Jack Plachter, who's counsel for Sheraton Headquarters Hotel, is here, so I'll ask him to give the.
I'll be very brief. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members, mayor, members of the public. I do have with me Jeff Albrecht, who's the general manager of the Sheraton Hotel as well. Briefly, this is a relatively minor modification. There's no new money being advanced by the first lender. All it is a modification to 2 material terms. One is the amortization schedule. So instead of right now the loan is a 20-year amortization schedule. For a limited period of time, for the next 2 years, they're going to go to a 30-year amortization schedule, which all that does is it improves the cash flow, which the lender has tied up 100% for the hotel for operations, so they can use it for working capital and other things. And the second thing is there's a 24-month window where Headquarters Hotel Associates, if they choose to, can refinance and try to get better terms on their loan and do that without paying a prepayment premium. Of course, if we did that, we'd have to come back to the CRDA for approval of that new loan. So those are really the 2 material terms. It will help the hotel during these challenging times with cash flow. We see things getting better, however, with in large part due to the work of this body. I think Atlantic City is starting to get better. I think it's clearly bottomed out and is turning around, and this would help us for that 2-year interim period. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, or Jeff's here to answer things as well.
Board discussion, Rich?
After the 2-year period, Jackie, it goes back to a 30-year mortgage?
20. Well, the amortization goes back to a 20. So it's just really the cash flow amortization.
What is it today?
It's 20-year. They're paying based on a 20-year amortization schedule.
Today.
2 years, they're increasing it 20 to 30, which means
That's
they'll
what I
pay
said.
lower every month for a 2-year period.
Right.
If I had to guess, this is really an attempt to use this window to get a new financing.
Absolutely, for sure. If we can do it.
Rich, another question?
Not just.
Other questions from board members? It really doesn't affect us. If we thought there was something we could do to improve our position, we would have done it, but we can't. So, hearing no further comment, any public comment? Seeing no public comment, I'll accept a motion to adopt.
Moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Great day.
Next item on the agenda is Historic Architectural Services. This is authorization for Spectra venue management to award 2-year contracts to Navarro and Wright Consulting Engineers Incorporated and Michael Calafati for an as-needed and an aggregate amount not to exceed $850,000 for services on an as-needed basis. Oriana, would you please read the resolution?
Sure. Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving professional service agreements to Navarro and Wright Consulting Engineers Inc. and Michael Calafati Architect Inc. for historic architectural services on an as-needed basis for the Lima City Convention Center and Boardwalk Hall with an aggregate spending of authorization not to exceed $850,000.
Thank you. Anybody need a reviews on this matter? It's something I have to ask for now these days. Description of the action, I think it's been gone to committee. This is a historic structure. This is for a 2-year period, a contract. Both firms are currently on the as-needed historic architect list. They have a history of working both buildings and are responsive as needed. Chris, is there anything you want to add to that?
No.
Key projects at Boardwalk Hall in which the historic architects will be involved are the facade, the limestone, mechanical, roof flashing and pointing, and exterior doors and windows and interior renovations. A source of funds will come from the annual capital improvement budget from the bond issue. Board discussion. Seeing none, public discussion.
I
Mr.
have
Cheatham.
one question about this
Yes.
historical building, the convention hall. Now, out of all the repairs that's being done in that hall over the years, I never hear anything mentioned about the heater room that used to furnish the heat for that building, air conditioning and all that. It was down there in the bowels of the building. I never heard anything mentioned about that. Now, that's an unusual mechanism down there. Those boilers and those furnaces used to take 1 ton of coal at a time for all of them. It was an unusual setup how it was done. Very interesting. And I used to go down there because I had to hit all the hits way down in the bowels of it. And I know it's a mess down there, but I used to have to do it every day. And I just wondered about that. Anything you ever thought about that, or let that building area down there just being rotted away until it caves in? I just wondered about it.
Well, we certainly don't want it to cave in. Is there any answer to that question?
Yeah, I mean, that stuff was abandoned probably about 45 to 50 years ago. There was a new system that was put in on top of West Hall.
Yeah, I never, I'm just wondering about it, because there's a lot of areas, and I wondered, can anything be done with it, or just gonna stay, that's what I'm saying, but rotting away?
That space down there now, it's kind of abandoned in place.
Okay.
It's abandoned in place?
Yes.
Can it be a problem?
No, it's been environmentally clean. It was done during the renovation in '99, 2000.
Other comments? Hearing no further public comment, a motion to award the bids.
I'll move it.
It's been moved by Mr. Shaughnessy. To a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Gann. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So ordered. The third item on the agenda is the adoption of the audit committee recommendation. We went out for an RFP and had 3 responses, one of which didn't meet the requirements and 2 that did. Lisa, would you please read the resolution?
Resolution of the Casino Reinvestment Development Authority approving the award of a professional service agreement with McCready CC to serve as outside auditor for 2017 through year-end 2021 with an aggregate contract spending limit not to exceed $300,000.
Anybody need to be recused? Hearing none. Chris, no, I guess I should ask Matt, do you want to report on the audit committee?
No, we had an audit committee of 3. We went through both proposals. We were all, came to the same conclusion, and this is what we're requesting for the committee that passed and now to the board.
Board discussion. Public comment. Motion.
Moved.
Who moved it? It's
Howard
moved by
did.
Mr.
Howard
Tolson,
did.
seconded by
Roll.
Howard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so ordered. I don't want anybody to get excited because the meeting was so short. In October, we will have significant amount of items on the agenda, but we will have an executive session following a public comment area. I don't expect anything to come out of it, but, yeah, litigation and contract negotiation. So I'll open the meeting to public comment. I think, Mr. Cheatham.
Although you have a very short meeting, I think I have to add a little bit more to make it a little longer. My first, Miss America pageant, what are we doing? What is our decision? What's gonna be our decision about the Miss America pageant?
Bill, the answer to that
Saying-
question?
yeah, well, I'm still worrying about it. I mean, I'm not gonna stop worrying about it.
No.
Now-
Let me give you the answer. We have one more year in the contract and we have constant discussions with Dick Clark Productions.
Well, I don't know why our city sold the rights to Miss America pageant. I can never figure that one out.
Is so what?
Sold the rights.
Oh,
They sold the rights. I don't know why we did that. I have no idea. But Miss America pageant belongs to Atlantic City. Now, whether Atlantic City admits it, whether Atlantic City accepts it, I don't know. And I know that if we hadn't sold our rights, we would have had something to say. Right now, we have nothing to say. So I'm gonna say it.
oh no, we have a right to say. We have to negotiate it.
Well, if we gotta negotiate on more open book policy. What are we doing? Where's the money going? Who's receiving the money? And on and on. Now that's for the Miss America pageant. Second thing, the old man don't like walking up escalators, as it is, running around looking for the elevator. What are we doing about escalators in Boardwalk Hall?
I asked the same question Sunday night, and the answer to it is it's part of the whole renovation of the lobby area. Is that correct? Yeah.
We're working on that now.
Well, don't take too long, the old man can't talk.
What? Isn't the elevator constructors convention coming to town? Might be an opportunity to coordinate those two together and resolve that problem,
Well,
right?
whatever it takes,
I agree.
whatever it takes. I mean, you
suffered
know,
the same-
conventions were our bread and butter here in this city. I don't know what we did, I have no idea, I have an idea, but I don't wanna say it. But that's something we need to get back to. Go out to some of these big conventions where it takes all the hotel rooms. Even they gotta go to Cherry Hill, cause they used to go to Cherry Hill to get rooms. You get back to that. Second thing, why is it we can't have a Broadway play show in Atlantic City like they used to? Bring in some tryouts. You done tore down all the theaters. You ain't got one big theater that you can use, that's Boardwalk Hall. You need to think about that, gentlemen and ladies. New Broadway play for a tryout in Atlantic City would draw a whole lot of people to the city. That's number two. Now, number three. You all are doing a good job in our city. If it wasn't for you guys, ladies, we'd be in big trouble. Our mayor can contest to that. He's sitting there on the board, but he knows if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't, nobody knows Atlantic City's here, only the bad stuff. You know that, everybody would know that right away. We need to get back to what made this town great. I keep saying that over and over and over again. You guys can talk about the mob all you want. They kept things going right. That's all I can say.
Yes,
They kept it going right.
Try not to talk
he's
about it in public.
absolutely right. Bring it back.
But I mean, you know, we gotta get back to these things. I mean,
That's the truth.
you know, our city, our Pacific
Like
Avenue
Uncle said.
is terrible. You
Get
guys
lost in
say,
my-
well, I see this, you don't see a whole lot, because I see it every day going to get my picture, every day.
Bill, every time I eat dinner with a knife and a fork, I think about that.
Well, You know, these are things that bother me, because we can do something about that. Jaywalking and all that stuff. We need to stop all this stuff. We need to stop it on Pacific Avenue. I'm sorry, we need to stop it. Now, you're tearing down all the churches now. You know, you're tearing them down. You know, we don't have no churches on Pacific Avenue at all. One Catholic church. So, but these things we need to start thinking about, ladies and gentlemen. Getting something built on all this land on Pacific Avenue. Now, I don't know about this, what is it? Land use?
Yes.
Is that what you're doing? I like to see that program. You know, man, let me copy that thing, whatever. Don't tell me to go to email, I don't do that kind of stuff. Send me pay a copy.
I'll have a copy for you this afternoon, Mr. Chief.
This afternoon, I gotta come back?
No.
Well, that's it for now. I mean, I just wanna extend the meeting a little longer. For that young man over there, what's his name, Grant, he can go home.
Mr. Chief, I listen to every word you say. Every word you say, and I don't disagree with it. The problem is, half of it belongs at city council. That's my frustration.
Well, don't let me start about council, because I'm gonna fight with them all the time, they'll tell you.
I
I
get
don't
it.
just jump on you guys, I jump on them too. Ask the mayor, he'll tell you.
I understand.
All right, okay.
Mr. Cheatham, you're part of the heart and soul of this city. And I think we appreciate the passion and the feeling that you have for it. And we do listen to what you say. And I appreciate that. Other comments from the public? Yes.
Hopefully I'm in the right forum and not don't belong in front of city council as well, but I'm a realtor that represents several clients in the area of Florida Avenue, and they asked me to come here on their behalf. Their concerns are if there's anything going to be done to revitalize that area, because right now it's becoming overrun with drugs and prostitutes and just a lot of crime, and I have several clients in that area who have owned homes since the 60s, and they all want to move. And it's a shame because they spend money in Atlantic City. They go to eat, they come every weekend, they go to eat, they spend their money here. So that's their one concern. And the other concern is many of them have had to apply for a land use variance to get their homes back to being deemed residential, although they've always been residential, and that is a big process for these elderly people. And we wanted to find out if there was something that can be done to just change these properties back to residential without them having to go through this whole expensive process and hiring attorneys.
Let me answer that question before I go.
Okay.
Lance, you want to answer that question?
Absolutely, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The proposed land use regulations that I'm gonna have Mr. Cheatham's copy for in the next 5 minutes.
Get two of them.
When I get to it. Will actually propose what's called a certificate of nonconformity, which is what you're talking about. They
Okay.
come for, and they have to come before the board for that. Once these regs are passed, you will actually be able to just come in, it'll be an over-the-counter piece of paper handed to you for the next 5 years.
Okay,
5 years. Get all fingers out there. Right now, that's limited to 1 year after the last regulations were passed, which was 1978. So that's why they need to come in now.
Okay.
After these regs are passed, it'll be a much simpler process for that's just the population I was talking about
okay.
last month at our meeting, that the board remembers. So, right on point.
In answer to your first question, I think that's a question that really belongs with the city council and the police department. Even though we have spent $3.5 million to improve technology in the police department, even though we've spent $1.5 million to put Class 2 officers on the boardwalk and Pacific Avenue, it's really not our function.
Okay.
But we've spent money in an effort to help it, but it really is an issue that should go before the mayor and council.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to address it. If you're representing the, ma'am, hi.
Oh, sorry.
If you're representing the people who live on Florida Avenue, I'm surprised you're not part of the task force that's been organized about 120 days ago that's dealing specifically with illegal activity, prostitution, drug dealing on the alleys, and the illegal use of buildings that are not certified to be rooming houses, but are being used as one.
And we did
We made
recently-
more than 100 arrests just in the weekend in May. We made another 100 arrests from Memorial Day until Labor Day. You have 15 police officers, Vice is there, you have the cameras. We've returned stolen equipment to people that have been doing work through the cameras. Everyone that has something stolen from the house, we've been able to videotape it, thanks to funding, by the way, from CRDA. And then you see that it's the person working for
Yeah, we
you,
did
or
have
your
a-
child that's stealing it. And once you have the video, then we get the equipment back from you. That committee continues to exist. There is a 411 tip that's going along with that. We have replaced all of the lighting on Florida, on Texas, on Bellevue Avenue. Actually, CRDA provided the funding for that too. It's 4 times the amount of lighting that you had before. There's been over 30 buildings on Texas and Florida that have been sold and have gone from a rooming house to a 2-family house, which is providing a better quality of people that are living there. But certainly the opiate addiction is seriously affecting life in Atlantic City. We can't arrest our way out of it. It's a complicated situation. Although I usually bash the governor on many things, the governor should get a lot of credit for his $2 million commitment to actually helping people that have a substance abuse problem. This is the capital of South Jersey, and that includes Ocean County. For every other town that's happy that they don't have any of these problems, because they've sent all the people here. And it's the county and the city that have to find solutions for people that have substance abuse, that are homeless, that are mentally deranged, that have schizophrenia, that are manic depressive, and that are poor even if they have housing. And we're feeding and clothing and doing everything we can. I'd like to invite you to this task force, which is made up of the construction department, the police department. CRDA actually has Sid involved with this, and Public Works, specifically for Florida and Texas Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the public? Seeing none, I'll close the public session. This board will go into executive session. Following that, I do not expect any announcement to the public. So you're free to stay till we reopen it, but I don't want you to waste your time. And thank you. And that's where we are. So I'll accept the motion to close the public portion of the meeting. Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered.